Are you tired of having builds with no trees at all? Do you want to move up to the next level and impress all your friends with your base? Well, look no further because I'm about to tell you everything you need to know to turn this into this. Okay, that's a little exaggeration, but these tips will definitely put you on the right track. Knowing the right way to place down bushes and foliage is extremely important when you're trying to build good-looking things. You can be the best building creator in all of Minecraft, but something's gonna look off if the foliage and the bushes and the trees are not done the right way. So let's hop into the game right now, and I'll show you a few tips to spruce up your foliage detailing game. Now, before we can start working on the trees or the bushes or anything like that, we need to lay out the groundwork. Quite literally, come on guys, you know that was a good pun. You know that was a good pun, don't even lie. The ground is very important in making good landscapes. You can use grass only if you want, or you can add a bit of texture to it. Maybe try some green concrete powder, or even some coarse dirt. Whatever you think looks best for what you are building, but only having grass can look a bit too plain and boring. One other thing that you might want to do is think about where the sun touches and consider removing grass in the darker areas and replace it with coarse dirt to make the darker areas pop just a bit more. Let's start with something that everybody has seen before. Trees. Now you can plop a sapling down and bone meal it and be on your way. But if you really want to impress people, you need to learn how to make your own trees. It can be very easy depending on the size of the tree that you want to build. Small trees are the easiest trees to build, obviously. All it takes is a few fences and some leaves. Now, you can decide how big you want your tree to be, but if we're using fences, they're usually going to be on the smaller side. You want to start by building a pillar with fences, and maybe you can move it to the side as you move up just to add some flair or some detail to it. Now you can make it as high as you want. It can be anywhere from just 3 blocks tall up to even 9 or 10 blocks tall if you want. Once you have that basic shape, you can add some small branches on the side like this in order to further detail it. And the last step is really you just need to cover it up with some leaves. And don't make it look too circular or too square. Try to find a nice middle point. It will definitely take some practice. As you make more trees, you should find a groove and it should get easier. Sometimes you have to remove leaves here and there in order to find the right shape. But just experiment and find what's right for you. Once you have added those leaves, you might want to use a different leaf type in here and there just to add some color variety. And just like that, you have built a tree. Here are a few different tree varieties that you might want to build using this sort of method. As you can see, it's pretty similar all the way around, but it's just making the small changes that make the difference. For larger sized trees, you will need some logs to go along with it, and maybe even some slabs. This process is similar to the smaller trees, just on a much larger scale. Now you want to use your logs to make a nice trunk and just build upwards from that. You can curve the log in any direction you want just to add some imperfections if you feel like that, or you can just go straight up. Down at the trunk, you might want to add some more logs just to thicken it up and show that it is strong and that it's in place and not going anywhere. After you have this core for the tree, you can use the fences to make branches. And with these trees, the branches should go out farther and should be in random orientations in order to make a more natural and realistic looking tree. And with these trees, you can go very tall if you want, so just remember to scale up the branches as well. So the taller the tree is, the farther out the branches should go. And once you have this shape, you can just simply add the leaves to the branches and fill it all up. Now in this area right here, you don't want to go crazy with leaves, just because in this area there would not be a lot of sunlight reaching the leaves, so you want to leave this area a little barren. And there is your tree. Now you can use this info to make other kinds of trees as well. You don't just need to make oak trees. You can make trees like pine trees if you want. And with pine trees, you want to keep the branches closer to the base and have it taper off as you get to the top. And your leaf choice should also be different with pine trees. I would use a spruce leaf just because that obviously makes the most sense. And here are a few more examples of trees that you can make using these tips that I just gave you. Some extra little tidbits that you could use. For example, if you want to make a spooky tree right next to your haunted house, you might not even want to add any leaves at all, so you can just skip out on the leaf process. If you want to make a sort of willow tree with some leaves hanging down from it, you can just follow the steps and then add these sort of leaf pillars hanging down from the tree like so, which adds a nice little effect. Going back to my previous tip regarding removing grass where the sun doesn't touch, Maybe put some coarse dirt at the base of the tree to show that the leaves and branches block the grass from growing below, because that is probably what would be happening in real life. Once you have the trees in, you're going to want to start putting some bushes and plants to go along with it. So let's start with some bushes. If you want to just add some flair around your base, it's really just as simple as plopping down a few blocks of leaves like this and calling it good. But you can also mix in some different leaf types for variations similar to the trees. Now, along with the bushes, you can add some grass and ferns around to improve the grassy, bushy look. You can add a few extra grass pieces around your bushes to make an even more overgrown and natural look. And similar to the trees, you really just have to experiment with this on your own, and you'll get better as time goes on, and you'll find what works for you. So now that you've seen all of the tips and tricks that I've given you for this video, I want to show you guys what it looks like when we put it all together into an actual build. So I've gone ahead and I built this nice little house here. It's a cute little quaint house, nothing too crazy, but it does look pretty nice if you ask me. I would not mind living here. It's got a nice little chimney on the side, and yeah, it's looking all around cool, but the one thing that it is missing, you might be able to tell, is of course the bushes and the foliage and everything around it. And so you can see, even though this building looks pretty decent, it looks a lot worse because everything around it is just bland and empty. So let's change that and add in some foliage. So we're going to start here by changing the ground color. I'm going to add in some of this green concrete powder, and as well I'm going to add in some of the coarse dirt so we have this nice little gradient mixture. And the next step, if you guys can remember, we're going to add in the bushes. Just sparkling them around here and there, nothing too crazy. We're gonna move over and add in the grass here and there, and I'm also adding in some of the tall grass as well, so you can do that depending on how thick you want your brush to be. And this is what we have after we're doing that, and you can see it's already starting to look better, even without the trees. But let's get into that real quick right now. We're gonna add some trees in here, and it's gonna fill up this place pretty nicely. So I'm adding one tree right here just to the side of the house, and once we get that up, I'm going to move to the other side, and I'm gonna put another tree right here, and then I'm going to put a third tree in the back. And those are going to be the 3 large trees that we have. And the size of your tree in relation to your build really is important for how you want your build to look. If you want your build to look really big, I would recommend having smaller trees around the build, because that way it'll make the build look even bigger. Because if you have giant trees all around your build, it's going to make your build look a lot smaller. So just make sure that you know the scale that you want your trees to be. And once we have these larger trees done, we're going to come back and we're going to fill in some of the little emptier spots with some of the small trees, just to fill in some empty space and add a little bit more of that detail. And to finish off here, just some more few little details you can add. There's this little area right here. Maybe I want to add a garden here, so we can use the same leaf idea that we've been using, and then add some grass, and then maybe just some flowers too to look nice. And one more thing that can really bring your build into the nature around you, add some grass, and then maybe just some flowers too to look nice. And one more thing that can really bring your build into the nature around you is you can add this sort of leaf pile going up the side of your building, kind of looking like vines, or ivy maybe, coming around the side. But that is pretty much all that it takes to make your house or your build look a lot better with some nice foliage. And these tips were pretty basic level tips just for beginners, so let me guys know down in the comments if you want to see some more advanced tips for doing some foliage. I can go into terraforming, I can go into a lot of crazy stuff like that, so just let me know if you want to see more videos on these sort of tips for building. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I hope you gained some good information out of this video. And stay tuned for whatever I have next going on my channel. And until the next video, guys, have a good day and goodbye.